Hello, everybody. Peter Greenberg here. Happy Thursday. Happy first Thursday of June 2023. Did you survive the Memorial Day weekend? We'll talk about that. Of course, you can always email me all your questions as we go through this global travel update today. Send them in. We'll get right to them. Let's recap first what happened over the Memorial Day weekend. Let's start with the good news. Over 55,000 flights in the air. On-time reliability was pretty good. The stress test of the system seemed to work. There were no big delays or cancellations, relatively speaking. The highways were pretty crowded. There's a reason for that as well that most people aren't realizing. I'll explain that in a second. But in terms of the airlines and the airports, while the airports were very crowded, why? Because the airlines were flying fewer planes, right? They cut back about 10% of their flights in certain regions because of the air traffic controller shortage. They were flying larger planes into peak times at the airports. So if it seemed like everybody you ever knew in your life was at the airport at the same time you're probably right. However, weather did not play a factor. And as a result, things seem to move smoothly. Does that mean it's going to be a great summer? Not necessarily, because other things are happening. Airlines are actually adding more flights for the summer. United just added 36 new flights out of Denver. So that's just to give you an idea of where we're seeing the numbers. And speaking of numbers, this number I think is going to really stagger you. Americans this summer will exceed the $200 billion mark in vacation spend. Now, let's put this in some perspective here. It'll actually top out at about $214 billion if things continue to go the way they are. That's basically 10% above last year, 39% above 2021. Not surprisingly, a 261% increase over the terrible year of 2020. But here's the indicator, 111% higher than the last high water mark, really, in 2019. So that'll give you an idea of how much money we're spending. We're not going to be stopped. Every airplane's going to be full. Airports will be bulging at the seams. Now, mention of the highways I mentioned earlier. One of the reasons why the highways were more crowded this Memorial Day weekend is that, by my estimate, United Airlines, American, and Delta have dropped about 75 cities from their route schedule. So you have a lot of secondary and tertiary cities in America that either have substantially reduced service or no air service. And so a lot of those people who were on the highways were not there by choice. They were driving to get to another airport. That contributed to the bumper to bumper. But again, the good news is we survived Memorial Day. The stress test worked, but no bets on what's going to happen for the rest of the summer, because based on that spending figure I just gave you, the demand is only going to increase, at least through September. Now, there is some good news for September already, if you want to plan ahead. Remember I talked about the war over the North Atlantic with airlines like Play and North Atlantic? Well, North Atlantic just announced new routes from Miami to London and from Miami to Oslo that'll start in September with rates starting at about $209 each way. That's a great deal. So if you're trying to get to Europe this summer, good luck. Airfares are like $2,200, coach on most of the major carriers and most of the foreign carriers as well. However, there's a way around this a little bit. One is to take a look at airlines like North Atlantic or French Bee, or if you're flying business class, La Compagnie. Their business class rates might be $2,000 or $3,000, but a business class fare on American, United, or Delta might be $12,000. So there's some ways to get around that. And then, of course, there's my favorite open jaw ticket to avoid the passenger duty tax out of UK airports coming home. You don't get taxed going into London. Do you get taxed leaving. So what I like to do, if I'm going to go to Europe and I want to start in London, do an open jaw ticket, US to London, then take the Channel, take the train over to Paris, Amsterdam, or Brussels, and then fly home from there. The money you save on taxes will pay at least for your hotel room one of those nights in those cities, and you'll get a great meal, as opposed to giving a tax to a country you're not represented by, and they're just gouging us. All right, that's that one. So we talked about United Airlines adding 36 flights out of Denver, and that's crazy, but it's happening. And you know what? Maybe they can sustain it, but it's a little crazy. All right, let's say hello to a couple people. I'm going to scroll up here. Hello to Scott in Chicago, Harriet and Jim in Richmond, Virginia. Hope your holiday was a restful one. Actually, we were shooting my television show over the Memorial Day weekend in Belize. So we were working. And since then, we were in Boston. Now I'm in Oakland, California. That's where I'm speaking to you today. We're doing one of my television shows here as well. I'm focusing on a number of American cities that just don't get enough love. We actually just shot a special in Detroit. Detroit's coming back. Oakland, bigger than ever. I mean, Oakland was always like the bastard stepson of San Francisco. San Francisco is going through a big problem right now, as you know, with crime and with homelessness, and that's not being resolved easily. Every city has their homelessness problem. We know that, but in Oakland, so many cool things that haven't changed, and fewer businesses going out of business here because it's less expensive to be here. So the restaurant scene is thriving. The whole food scene is thriving. Yesterday, I spent a little time at a place that locals know about, but visitors don't. Imagine a 100-acre zoo in the middle of a 500-acre city park in the middle of Oakland. It's the Oakland Zoo. I was hanging out with the giraffes yesterday, and the bison, and the mountain lions, and the elephants, and a few wolves as well. A lot of fun. I got to feed the giraffes yesterday. You have never seen a tongue that long. That's all I'm going to say. And wash up after. But in any case, that's what I'm doing in Oakland today. Before I actually get on a plane tonight, and we're going to be reporting next week from the middle of the Great Lakes. And I'll explain that from there next week. All right, let's continue to say hello to everybody. Scrolling down. Hello from Bellingham, Washington, and Robbins in Williamsburg. And Cortez is, I don't know where, but says good morning. My friend Peter in Kigali, all of my friends in Rwanda. Lindy's saying, a May gray to a June gloom Ventura. It's always June gloom in Southern California, and that includes Ventura. Colleen says, hi from San Francisco. I'm back in the States now, and I wanted to follow up on that Marriott Gare de Lyon problem in Paris a few weeks ago. Without warning, the hotel canceled my 5-night reservation because they were oversold and didn't tell me until I tried to check in. They eventually charged me a room in the basement, but charged me full rate for the room. Okay, please send me an email. You know where to send it, Colleen, and I'll do what I can to figure out what happened and maybe get you some restitution here. All right, let's move on here. Simon saying Tanzania. Okay, I got that one. Lori says we are welcoming our first flight out of IAD today from Norse here in Fairfax County. All right, that's going out of Dulles. Okay, I mentioned Norse just a couple of minutes ago. Lorraine is saying hi from Lansing. Camilla's in Tucson as always. Joyce saying leaving from Philadelphia going to California for a cruise September 26th for 5 days. When is the best time to book our flights? Well, that September 26th date is a good indication where you might not want to have to book it right now. I'm going to tell you right now, there's a reason why airlines like Norse are starting service on September 8th. And what are they doing on September 8th? They're dropping prices. This year, I'm telling you, it's not the prices that we're seeing now cannot be sustained. It's a mathematical impossibility. Now, will they stay strong all summer? You bet. People are just determined they're going to go no matter what. But after Labor Day, they're going to come down. I would say about August 1, you take a look at that September 26th cruise. I hope you're not flying on the day the ship's leaving. Joy, I hope you're leaving the day before, but that's when you want to buy your tickets around August 1st. Okay. All right. Catherine says, hello from Bear Country in Sierra Madre. Okay. Yeah, you're right. This travel advisor is working 12-hour days. I know travel advisors who are working 20-hour days. It's crazy. Hello, Evelyn. April's saying hi from Las Vegas. Let's keep going here. Oh, one more thing I should tell you guys. And this one comes under the category of who thought this was a good idea? The news broke yesterday that starting immediately, and by the way, I'm going to use every pun intended here, this will go over like a lead balloon. Every pun intended. Air New Zealand is now requiring passengers to weigh in before they get on the plane. God help us all. They're saying they're just trying to do some statistical surveys. You know what? I know people who just book away from that just not to have to go through that humiliation. I know I need to lose weight. I don't need the airline to tell me. So let's see how long that literally flies. But they're going to start weighing people in. And remember all the airlines that will charge you for everything for overweight. And the clothing companies like the Scott E vest that have filling like 35 pockets and you wear your bag, right? Can you imagine getting weighed in on that? Oh, amazing. All right. Now, a couple of other questions that came in this week. All right. Scott wants to know how do I like Belize? Love Belize. Amazing place. The thing about Belize that people don't realize is if you think the Maya civilization is extinct, think again. They're alive and well in Belize, along with some other interesting civilizations that have managed to hold on and actually grow. Some amazing Mayan sites that have been uncovered. And there's an estimate there that at least 70% of all the Mayan sites have yet to be uncovered and may never be uncovered inside that thick jungle. It's amazing. And remember, what country does Belize border on? Guatemala, also the Maya sites. It's quite amazing. All right, here's one. Linda says, was recently, by the way, what Linda's saying here is not a solitary comment. I've seen so many of these. Was recently on a first-class United flight and was disappointed with the food service. I ended up eating frozen pasta. I've never flown them first class. Is this the typical meals they serve on first? Right now, think about this. Where are the competitive points in an airline experience that the airlines think they need to be competitive about? Right? Every plane's full. So do they have to compete on seats? No. People should just be happy they have a seat, right? Do they have to be competitive on food? Airline food's always been an oxymoron. Who are we kidding? They're certainly not going to compete on it now. There was a time when United Airlines, I remember they used to have a transcon flight called the chef's flight. And it was a huge buffet in the morning. And you went up to the first class area and it was smoked salmon and bagels and lox and cream cheese. No. The only time airlines get competitive on food service is on highly competitive intercontinental flights in business or first class, assuming they even still have a first class section. But on U.S. domestic service and even on international service offered by U.S. airlines, the food across the board has fallen apart. It's BYO all the way. But do me a favor, if you're going to BYO, that doesn't mean walking on the plane with a smelly bag of McDonald's. Nothing smells worse at 35,000 feet than, 2-hour-old French fries that you didn't finish. And you know who I'm talking to, you. So do it healthy, fruit, vegetables, raw, some cookies that you like or crackers that you like. That's it. Now, were you really on the plane to eat in the first place? I hope not, because your expectations will never be met. But I have to tell you, the food on United lately sucks. I'm serious. I haven't had a great meal on a United flight in a long time. In fact, I flew back on United from Belize, and I got upgraded. And what they offered me in first class was so bad, I said, I'll take one of those little Coach snack boxes, right? I mean, how bad can they mess up processed cheese? And they didn't, and that was my meal. So there you go. Here's one from Francis. What do you need to do in order to get global entry? I only have pre-check. Well, you're halfway home, because if you got global entry, you would have gotten pre-check. You can go on our website or go on and we'll post it for you. Anthony can do that. The website you need to go for the TSA or U.S. Customs and Border Protection to register for global entry. It's a rather cumbersome application, because in cases like mine, you have to, and you too, although mine happened to be a little longer for reasons you'll understand in a second, you have to list every country you've been to in your life. So they do the background check on you. But it's a great trusted traveler program. It works every time. With biometrics right now, you don't even have to put your palm print on or your fingerprints. They don't even take they just read your eyes. You don't have to put your passport in the kiosk. It's 22 seconds and you're done. It's the best thing to happen since sliced bread, at least in the travel experience, a government program that actually works. Go figure, but it does. You have to do an interview too. Now, they've made it somewhat easier now to do the interviews, and as we get through the summer, it'll be easier to get those appointments, but you can also do it on the spot if you're coming to an airport that's offering interviews when you're about to leave or after you arrive. Well worth the effort, and it's good for 5 years. So do it. All right. Eric says, Peter, I need to go to Barcelona for a wedding July 15th and wait until the last minute. Flights are $2,000 round trip. Yeah, no kidding. We talked about that. Can you help with how to get a better airfare? Yes, I can. Don't go nonstop to Barcelona. That's the rule number one. Rule number two, take a low-fare carrier. I mentioned a couple of them, like North Atlantic or Play, which will stop in Iceland, or Gatwick in London, and then take the train. That's how you do it. Or if you really want to schlep, once you get to London, go to Luton or Stansted and do like an EasyJet flight or a Ryanair flight. Just remember, you'll pay for everything, but at least it's not going to be $2,000. That much I can assure you. Okay. I'm going to see that right here. I'm turning the pages here for all these questions. Oh, here's the fun one. We asked you our question of the week this week, and the answers were quite remarkable, and in some cases, remarkably consistent. And the question was, what is your best tip for packing? And here it comes. Let's see. Emmer said, on long trips, never bring more than a week's worth of clothes. You can always mix, match, and do laundry. Plus, let's face it, on vacation, most of us recycle our most comfortable outfits. Okay, but here's the one that everybody went for. It's packing cubes. Allison said that. Francis said that. Again said that. Who else? They all said packing cubes. And you know what? They work. Packing cubes and roll your clothes. Everybody loves. Oh, and Dana says zippered packing cubes. No digging and making a mess of entire suitcase to find the thing you're looking for. They also hold a lot more than you think. I prefer in sheer fabric so you can see what's inside. Okay, very good. Dale says, take quick dry underwear. Where are you going, Dale? And recommends a couple of brands. And once again, packing cubes. They really do work. Okay. Now, this one I love. Dorothy, you're absolutely right. Great common sense. My husband and I split our clothes into 2 suitcases just in case. If one goes missing, it won't be all of my clothes or his. Very good idea. All right. Here's one I didn't know about. Thank you, Colleen, for telling us. The TSA now allows scissors in passenger carry-on if it's less than 4 inches from the pivot point, whatever the pivot point is. So I packed cuticle scissors, which came in very handy on my recent trip. Okay. Here's one from Ricky. I pack my socks inside my shoes and use the freebie shower caps at hotels to cover the soles of the shoes. Good idea. Okay, back to compression packing cubes, says Kelly. Karen says cloth zipper packing cubes. Everybody's loving packing cubes. Love that. Gary says packing cubes. It's a line of fans for packing cubes. Okay. Oh, Lorena says I have packing cubes of different colors. Red is for very important items. Another color for shirts, another color for pants. Boy, nobody's a little compulsive, obsessive. Okay, but anyway, thank you, Lorena, for that. How long is your trip going to be, by the way? Mary loves her packing cubes. Wow, everybody's got it. Now, Sandy says this one, but really, Sandy, you really believe this is a great tip? Definitely not pack my passport and ticket inside my suitcase. Can we all say no kidding? Okay. All right. More color coordinated packing cubes. And that was that. Wow. A couple other notes here. Other than the Air New Zealand weighing note, which is it just blows my mind. It's this. I'm a huge fan now of credit cards that are not affiliated with a mileage program. And you know why? Because you're earning miles that you can't ever redeem. It's impossible now. I love the cashback cards. I'm liking them more and more. On the Chase Reserve, that's a Visa card. I mean, the points that you get, if you then book your travel using those points, they give you a 50% bonus. They'll even give you a $300 statement credit if you book your travel through them at least once. These are tangible paybacks, all right, as opposed to waiting to cash in miles that continue to devalue by the hour. I mean, it's getting worse and worse and worse. A good friend of ours, Mike Boyd, who's always on our radio show, he wanted to just, cash in some miles from I think Chicago to Fort Lauderdale, not the world's longest flight. And they wanted 280,000 miles. Does anybody remember when you got a round trip coach ticket when you got to 25,000 miles? Does anybody remember that? I do. That's why we joined the program. These miles are becoming almost valueless. And I'm going to say a pretty harsh word here, but I truly believe the frequent flyer programs have gotten to the point where they meet a clinical definition of fraud. When the airlines sell their miles to the credit card companies and the credit card companies buy those miles from the airlines, it's sort of a gentleman's agreement where each party knows that when they finish that transaction, they have no intention of redeeming more than 8% of them. Right? I've said it before, I'll say it again. Mafia loan sharks don't get that rate of return. Then the airlines will tell you, their argument is, oh, we have to carry these unredeemed miles on our books as a financial liability. Well, that is technically correct, but it's a flat out lie because it's not a liability because the airlines control the redemption. There's no authority mandating them that they have to redeem the miles. They just carry it on the books to make it look like they've got some liabilities. It's artificial, folks. There are no liabilities. And if you read the fine print of the program that you joined, and chances are you didn't read the fine print, it says there in black and white, we reserve the right to change the rules at any time. And here's the best part, or the worst part, we reserve the right to end the program at any time. So we're just rolling the dice every day when we don't control the table. And the table's kind of lopsided. So do the math, guys. Even if it's only a 1.5% cashback card, it's something. Having miles in an account that devalue by the day, and even when you want to use them, it's excessive, is an insult. So I don't understand, well, I do understand why we're all members. We were addicted to the concept. And I certainly understand why the airlines are addicted to it, because they're addicted to the revenue. Again, they make more money from their frequent flyer programs than they make as airlines. Something's wrong here, and it certainly is not helping us. So you might want to investigate those cashback cards and the bonuses that come with them. But when you're on the airline, if I hear this one more time, I'm going to hear it again tonight. I know it. I'm going to get on the plane tonight, and sometime when I'm trying to sleep on the plane, the flight attendants will make an announcement, walking up and down the aisle, hawking applications for credit cards, saying, hey, if you just sign up, you just have to spend $1 and you'll get 50,000 miles. That's good for 2 free tickets anywhere we fly. Yeah, in whose lifetime? There's the fraud. Oh, no, they're telling the truth. You'll get the 50,000 miles. You should take them to an art supply store, buy a picture frame, and hang them on the wall. Because they're getting valueless, and you can't use them even when you want to. It's ridiculous. There's a very simple solution to being transparent and engendering great passenger goodwill over the long term. It's coming up with reasons why people want to fly you, not with reasons why they don't. Now, think about this. If I was running an airline and you were a passenger and I wanted to retain you, I'd say, let me define to you what we mean by a loyalty program, right? If we're going to give you miles, you get to use them. And the way we're going to do it is we're not going to hold back seats. It's like making a regular reservation. If you work that hard to get those miles, if there's a seat available and somebody else didn't buy it and you got there first, you get it. Now, that's not going to start a run on the bank. That's just an equitable, fair, responsible, and humane way to run the program. Now, there's a lesson to be learned here because back in the summer of 1984, I remember this very well, some idiot at Pan Am took a look at all the miles that had been earned by their passengers that hadn't been redeemed, and they were worried about this liability without figuring out they controlled the redemption anyway. They didn't think that one through, so they sent a letter out to every one of their frequent flyer members saying, if you don't redeem your miles by Christmas, you lose them. Whoops. That started a run on the bank like you've never seen. Every Pan Am plane was full. Pan Am's revenue that summer was zero. And in some flights, less than zero. They never had to do that. They just had to say to their passengers, if there's a seat available on the plane and you want it and you have the miles, you've got it. Not just hold back seats hoping for more revenue. Right now, the airlines don't have to hold back any seats because the planes are all full because we're all traveling, which makes it nearly impossible to either A, redeem miles to begin with, or if you want to redeem the miles based on a fare-based system now that the airlines have, it's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of miles for a ticket that might only normally retail at about $350. It's absurd. So again, this leads me to my other item here on The Price is Right, and that is which airline are you going to fly if you're not going to be addicted to the frequent flyer programs? I gave you this example a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to bring it back right now because it's worth discussing. I needed to go from Nashville to Orlando. Now, I could have gone, and my crew is going to, I could have gone on American through Charlotte, United through Houston, or Delta through Atlanta, one stop, and the average fare on those days was $436. Now, if I'd flown any of those three airlines, what would have happened? I would have spent $436. I would have gotten mileage I can't use because they won't let me redeem it, and I would have gotten a Biscoff cookie. Spirit has a nonstop between Nashville and Orlando on a brand new A321. And what were they charging for a ticket? $67. So now let's do the math. For about $370 less than what the other airlines were charging me for my non-redeemable miles and a Biscoff cookie, I got to go on Spirit, add in the bag charges, because if you're checking a bag, let's say it was now $167, still $200 less. And for that, for a flight that lasts only an hour and 40 minutes, okay, the seats don't recline, right? I'm not on for the food anyway. And what did I do with that $200? I could have gone out and bought 150 cases of Biscoff cookies. The point is here, you want something tangible for your efforts. Let's weigh it now. Frequent flyer miles that you can't use and paying more for your ticket for the idea of being able to redeem them, or using a cashback card to buy your tickets in the first place and then going on an airline that you already know is not going to give you miles that are going to, look, I know Spirit has a frequent flyer program. That's not even registering with me right now because the differences are so big. We are so upside down on the frequent flyer programs now, it's not funny. So I just want you to know that and start considering options because it's not going to get better. And short of an intervention by either the Federal Trade Commission or some U.S. Justice Department moves based on fraud, or more likely than that, a number of class action lawsuits, I'm thinking of filing one myself, right? And look, I've got bazillions of miles, but it makes no sense for me to sit here and brag about them if I can't use them. The same thing applies to you. All right, that's my that's my diatribe on that. By the way, little housekeeping note: if you're a good watcher of our shows, you know the Travel Detective is on the air right now for the new season. And here's a preview of what's airing this week. This week on The Travel Detective, you'll find it in the central part of Mexico, the birthplace of the country's independence. It's rich in colonial architecture and history, and in one town, 12% of the population is American, and with good reason. So let me share with you some of my hidden gems of the state of Guanajuato. Plus, some sobering statistics. America's most dangerous roads when it comes to DUIs. And then, from Sigmund Freud to broken hearts, we introduce you to some unexpectedly compelling museums. I'm Peter Greenberg. All this and more on the next edition of The Travel Detective on PBS. Check your local listing. And of course, it's also streaming on Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus. I hope you get a chance to catch the entire season. And of course, our radio show this Saturday, always coming from a different location somewhere around the world. Check it out, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. It's also streamed live. Check to our website. You can hit the radio icon and listen to it there if you can't find a station where you live. Let's go back to some more emails here from us. Looking to go to Spain for Christmas. When will be the best time to buy airline tickets? Well, here's the rub. Anytime after December 15th, you're going to pay through the nose. Spain at Christmas, Catholic country, you get the picture. What you need to do is you want to go before December 15th, buy those tickets now. You don't have to wait on that one. Buy them now and come back maybe 4 days after New Year's, not within 3 days after New Year's. You'll be better off. Okay, here we go. Oh, here's one from two gals now. They write in, do you like and fly Aer Lingus? I do. I especially like flying out of Ireland back to the United States because of what we call pre-clearance. Many people don't know pre-clearance has been around since 1952, so already 70 years. And what it is, if you're flying from Canada, from the Bahamas, from Bermuda, from Abu Dhabi, from Ireland, and there are a few more that are going to be added to it, we hope soon, you actually clear U.S. Customs and Border Protection in those countries. before you ever get on the plane. And what does that mean? You just save yourself a whole lot of time and aggravation, because when you land back in the U.S. at whatever gateway city you're landing, Miami, Chicago, Detroit, LA, doesn't matter, you can either connect to your flight immediately, which means your bags get connected all automatically, or you go home. There's no long line after an 11-hour flight to go through customs. Great idea. And Aer Lingus out of Shannon and Dublin do that. Love them for that. It's been great. All right. One of our watchers said, I'm going to Barcelona for 165,000 miles. Fraudulent. I'm amazed they even gave you a ticket. But then here's one from D. Hammer who says, I just booked 2 one-ways on KLM Air France for 31,000 miles round trip. Where are you flying? From Amsterdam to Rotterdam? You didn't tell me where you're going. I'd be really interested to find out when and where. And then the same person writes, if there are flight delays on Spirit, your SOL, a flight on a legacy carrier will be Rule 240 to another carrier. I wish I could agree with you, but you're absolutely wrong. Rule 240 used to be a great rule. It goes back to the days of the Civil Aeronautics Board. It was then taken over by the U.S. Department of Transportation after deregulation. And in essence, it's a great idea. It says that if your flight is delayed or canceled for any reason other than weather, you can go to the gate counter of the airline that delayed or canceled you and say, hey, can you 240 me? And what Rule 240 said, if they had agreements with other airlines, is that they would endorse your ticket at no cost to you over to another carrier. And if they had space, you'd go out on that other carrier. Well, one by one, the airlines have been ending their interline agreements. So there are very few airlines now that can 240 you. That's the problem. Okay, it's there you have it. All right, now let me go back and scroll down to some more. Okay, lots of people weighing in now. For our folks in Kenya are saying hi. Cortez is saying hi. Here we go, coming down here. Another Tanzania person. Still scrolling down. Hold on. I'm going through a lot of them here. Oh, hello from Pennsylvania to Gail. Oh, Taya wants to know, can I talk more about FedExing bags internationally instead of dealing with all the baggage weight and dimension restrictions to Europe specifically? I can talk about it easily. Don't do it. Many of you know that I like to FedEx my bags domestically. Wherever I can, I do that because for about $25 to $50 more than what the airlines want to charge you for losing your bags, I save 2.5 hours of my life on domestic flights by not schlepping them, right? They pick up the bag either at my hotel or at my house. And when I get to where I'm going, if it's a hotel, it's already in my room. Or if it's at my house, it's already home, right? No schlepping. It's worth it if your time is worth it. But internationally, it's exorbitantly expensive. And now you're dealing with customs. It's easy for a bag to get hung up in there. Don't do it. If you're going to go internationally, do what I do when I do. You just check your bags in. Don't forget your AirTags, though. Those Apple AirTags are a gift from the gods. I mean, I've developed an emotional relationship with my AirTags now when I check bags because they call out to me. They tell me they miss me. They tell me where they're going. And it lets you know, more than the airlines know, exactly where your bags are. So there you have it. All right. Robin wants to know my thoughts on Breeze Airways. Well, you know, the guy who runs Breeze is a genius, David Nealman. He started with Morris Air in Utah, then moved over to Southwest, and then he's the guy who started JetBlue. And when he made that a huge success, he moved down to South America and started their version of it called Azul, of course, blue. Then he was on the board of TAP for a while, and now he started Breeze. They're flying the Airbus 220s. It's a very efficient new jet from the Airbus people, and he's flying them between cities that are not served very well by anybody, and he's not flying them through anybody's hub. So, for example, if you want to go from Providence, Rhode Island to LA, he's got a nonstop. If you want to go from Myrtle Beach to Grand Rapids, I'm not sure he does that one, but that will give you an idea of what he's doing. He's using Long Island's Islip Airport. I wish somebody would. It's a great airport to fly east to west, not just north to south. I think they do a great job, and their prices are good. The only thing that you have going with you on airlines like Spirit and Breeze and Avelo and some others is they don't have enough frequency yet. So, you hope that your flight operates when it's supposed to, and there are not any delays. But in terms of concept, and hubs, not hubs, but point-to-point flights, they do a great job. Okay. Julie says, I just returned from Portugal, avoided the Lisbon strike by going into Porto. United out of Lisbon on the way home was awful. Delayed 3 hours. Passenger left standing in a hot, crowded waiting area with no announcements. And it wasn't a strike. United was terribly disorganized. Portugal is a great country, but let us not forget it's also the kingdom of a dead empire. You ask the Portuguese, hey, what's going on? They want to talk about Vasco da Gama. Go figure. But the one thing the Portuguese have not perfected, they've perfected being what? They perfected being affordable. They perfected their history. They perfected their food. The people are amazing. They're honest. They're joyful. Customs and border protection and passport control, repeat after me. They suck. 2.5 hour to 4 hour waits once you land in Lisbon just to get your passport stamped. This is nuts. And this is before there was a strike. It's a perfect example where the transport minister doesn't talk to the minister of tourism, right? They don't talk to each other, and yet they're both involved in your experience. They need to fix that. Hello to Suzanne. Winston saying, I'm going to a wedding in October. What's the best way to go from Dallas to Scranton, PA? Wow. Well, I'm going to get out a map. Look, you could go Dallas, Pittsburgh, go Dallas, Philadelphia, and then maybe train it. All right. I mean, the Scranton International Airport, I mean, come on. Forget that. Right. All right. Now, hold on a second, guys. Let me scroll down for 2 or 3 more comments, and then we'll give you what you've been waiting for here. Hold on. Okay. Oh, Joyce says, why did AA send me a change in flight info? There was only a 1-minute difference on the flight arrival time coming home from our destination. Originally, arrive at 12:20. It's 12:21. Why did they do that? Because the computer's programmed to do it. That's all. At least they told you. All right. Scott says, my wife recently signed up for Global Entry and was assigned an interview at the airport upon re-entry of our next international trip. Perfect. Exactly what I was saying. All right. Jane says, greetings from Brentwood, California, 30 miles. Oh, Brentwood. Oh, a different Brentwood, not Brentwood, Los Angeles. 30 miles east of Oakland. Did you eat all that delicious black and tan sundae at Fenton's? Let me tell you about Fenton's. That's here in Oakland. It's been around since 1894. Fenton's Creamery, a must-stop, especially if you're planning on taking a nap immediately after. Their ice cream is unbelievable. They make it all in-house. Some of their flavors or some of their sundaes, like the black and tan that Jane mentioned, have been around since the place opened back in 1894. You need an industrial strength spatula to eat it, and then you need 5 industrial strength spatulas to get you up from your chair when you're done. The banana split is a weapon. It's got bananas, strawberry, vanilla, chocolate, fudge, pineapples, whipped cream, cherries. I mean, just to name a few. Take your time. I mean, you see people passed out in sugar comas, but we love Fenton's. It's a must-stop. And for walking distance from Fenton's are some really cool bookstores too, right here in Oakland. All right. And by the way, we just listed how you can apply for Global Entry. It's right on our website here. Thank you for doing that, Anthony. Okay, here we go. Oh, Gail says, my suggestion on packing tips is for every bottom, pants, skirts, etc., pack 2 coordinating top shirts. You can wear bottoms 2 to 3 times most of the time, barring any accidental spills. Okay. Jim wants to know, and Harry wants to know, do I ever think we'll see a passenger Bill of Rights? Not in an incarnation that will be helpful to you. Now, you may have some DOT rulemaking if you saw, Secretary Buttigieg making those announcements, but you're not going to see it at the very least until the end of this year, simply because that's how slow the federal government works. The relief that we need will not be here in time for summer. Okay. Winston says, my Global Entry is up for renewal this November. They're saying that they're extending the current registration for 1 year. When should I renew? What I would do is do it in February or March before everybody gets crazy for the summer next year. Okay. Here we go. Harriet and Jim say Costco has a cashback card through Citibank. We love it. Oh, there you go. Gail says, when we went to Italy for 2 weeks, we used a 22-inch suitcase for each of us and had room for souvenirs. Some of our tour companions were shipping stuff home because they overpacked 3 pieces. Oh, God. Overpacking. Stop it. I always pack a navy blue blazer, one dress shirt and a tie, and my wife always tries to pack like one all-purpose black dress, and then the rest of it is optional. Uh, okay. All right. Someone says someone should start a class action on the points programs. My balance is so high, I'm not sure I can ever redeem them, so I'm trying to book ahead to use them. Well, the point that you're making and what you just sent to me is true. If you've got the points already, if you've got the miles already, holding on to them is a losing proposition because they get devalued by the day. So think up to 330 days in advance and look at the marketing partners in the alliance that you're part of, either One World, SkyTeam, or Star, and book flights that none of your friends want to go on. You can brag to them when you get back and go there. All right? Look, frequent flyer accounts are not bank accounts. They accrue no interest. In fact, they just dwindle. Okay, here we go. Hello from Napa, says Kelly. How are you, Kelly? Lorena says, doesn't Delta have a bag packing? Yeah, Delta, you know what? I came in on Delta the other night from Boston to Oakland, and they did tell me that my bags were going to be going claim X and on carousel Y, and it works. Has that happened to me every time I've flown Delta? It has not. Somewhat inconsistent. All right. Now let's go to the photo of the week. I love this photo. You know what I love about this photo? Look at the sky. Anybody want to tell me where this photo was taken? Well, first of all, congratulations to Jesse Lichtenstein. And Jesse took this photograph at a campsite in Patagonia. But what I love about this picture is the sky, because it's almost like a Maxfield Parrish drawing, right? It's a Maxfield Parrish approach. Love that. Love the colors. Congratulations to Jesse. And if you got a photo that you think qualifies as the photo of the week, you know exactly what to do. Email me, peter@petergreenberg.com. And if we agree with you, you get to share space with Jesse next week. Speaking about next week, I'm on a flight tonight. Gee, what a surprise. I'll be earning miles that I can't redeem. I'll think of you as I crunch on my one Biscoff cookie. Listen to the radio show this Saturday. We'll have all the updates on what's going on around the world. I'll see you next week from a different remote location somewhere around the world. Have a great, safe first weekend of June. Hard to believe we're now in June, but you know what? We're going to get through the summer together, and hopefully things will get better. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you next week.